Parashat Bamidbar. This shiur is dedicated לרפואה שלמה of חיים ישראל בן בתיה הלוי, מזל בת רחל, and שחף בת לילך, לעילוי נשמת פריה בת שרה ומרים בת אסתם. Parashat Bamidbar, on its surface, seems a little boring. Doesn't, there's nothing much going on there. How do they go? This order, that arrangement, this arrangement, take some also. Now, of course, when things look a little boring to us, they're not really boring because we just don't look at it appropriately. And we're going to deal with this week's parasha. Hopefully, we'll make it on time. From basically a philosophical / Torah is called Torah Chaim, and everything that the Torah talks about has to do with our lives. By the way, nice keep.
Thank you.
The rat race that we're all involved with, is really, it can make you dizzy. And sometimes it takes away from us so much because of the stress. There's so much stress in our life. And because of the stress, we are not able to really do what we need to do. And we can actually fulfill ourselves and live a fulfilled life. Of course, this is not good, and everybody will tell you that. And it is also not healthy. And if we're going to apply it, you see, if I'm going to talk to you about life, you might say, oh, life. But if I'll talk to you about business, maybe you'll be able to hear the Musa a little better. And some will tell you that this is how you should run a business, right? A lot of action, a lot of fast pace, and so on and so forth, to run a company like this. However, when you're living on the edge, unless it's a song by Aerosmith, it's not something that you really want to do because it's very dangerous. One of the reasons because it's dangerous, because as the heat of the moment, I guess we are like singing today a lot of songs, at the heat of the moment, we might find ourselves completely immersed with the minutiae, with the little details, with little things in life, so much that we're going to lose the big picture, and that is a very important message that we need to remember. Not to get lost with the small details. We need to remember that managing, whether it's a business or life in general, every action that we do, every action that we take needs to apply to a goal in which we set ourselves from the very beginning. You have to know what is that you're doing and why. If you don't know, you better stop. If we did not define what is it that we're doing, why are we doing this, well, don't wait for too long. You should know that now is the time to do it. The internal definition of our goals needs to be made immediately and in a very clear way. And this is the first criteria to determine that we are not going to divert ourselves from the goals that we set ourselves or the target in which we want to be. Now, if your target is to be able to make a lot of money and to retire early, that's not a target. And most likely, when you talk this kind of a talk, you're not going to be walking anywhere and you're not going to get it. Now, and this is, by the way, what Rabbi Yitzchak Arama starts his introduction to Sefer Bamidbar. And he continues from this point to another point, and this is exactly as we define it. It's, for example, when you're doing a business or you're setting a goal, whether it's an army or whatever. I mean, anything needs to have a very defined goal. It's very important for us also that we define what is the purpose of our lives, and what do we want to achieve in life. Now, again, we are the intent is not to say how much money should I have or how much money would I like to have, but what kind of life do I really want to live? How do I want my life to look at the age of 60, at the age of 70, at the age of 50? How do I want my life to be? Not the materialistic possessions that I have, this kind of money or this kind of house. No, what kind of life? Because we define, oh, I want a big house, I want a good job, but along the line we abandon the most important thing, which is life. You don't determine what kind of life do you want. And then you might find yourself, instead of being, I don't know what, a milkman making cheese, you're going to find yourself a doctor doing colonoscopies. Very simple. Now, of course, you're going to make a very bad doctor or dentist. If the only reason that you go is because you want to make money, I'm going to tell you that's a very bad way to go about things. It's a very bad way to go about things. You're going to become a bad doctor, and you're going to be playing basically with people's lives. So don't do that. Later on, I'll talk to you about writing neuropsychologist things. Unbelievable. So now, ask yourself, how did I really want to live my life? What kind of a person would I like to be? What would I like to be that people will talk about me at my funeral? What are the values that I have? What are the virtues that I have in my life? What's important to me? What is the path in which I will take in my life? Unfortunately, and with all due respect to mommy and daddy, most of the time mommy and daddy does not tell you that. Mommy and daddy tell you, listen, get a good job, make a lot of money, be very happy. I'm sure they tried it and apparently they're not that happy. So you need to sit down and actually think about what you want. And as much as it's in business, here also in our life, it's very important to determine and to clarify what are those principles, and then, of course, act according to. When we say sof ma'aseh b'machshavat chila, right? What we mean is you have to act with the end in mind. In other words, you have to think about where you want to be, where point B will be, and then you draw a line from A, where you are, to B, where you want to be. But you have to know where you're going. Da me'ayin bata u'le'ayin ata olech. Know where you came from or where you're going. That's very simple. Now, every organization, every year or so on and so forth, have goals and objectives. Right? You sit down with the company, they sit down, they have goals and objectives, and whether it's a yearly thing, whether it's a quarterly thing, but they have goals and objectives. Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you sat down with yourself and you asked yourself, what are your goals and objectives? Now, did you analyze what's really important to you, to maybe re-examine the things that you do, the path that you take, before those bad habits that you do become a second nature to you, or before the path that you have taken seems to you too deep down the rabbit hole that you can't come out of it because you don't see anything but darkness, and you can't come out of it. So you say, okay, let me just stop when I hit the bottom. And let me tell you, when you hit the bottom, it hurts. So there are some people who do so every birthday. Some people do so every year, every day before they go to sleep, and some people do it once a year, and some people don't. And actually, I say most people don't do it at all. They live one day at a time, and they don't know nothing. And one thing it will do, it will make your mind mush. You kill you internally. Now, what is clear is that it is impossible to reach any kind of a progress in the journey of your life without a clear definition of goals and objectives that is has a very strong base and a very strong foundation. If not, you can't go further. Life is not just a path on axis X or Y. It's a 4-dimensional scheme that keeps on moving all the time. And you better make sure that you have good foundations. That's why when you're young and you still have the time and the ability, that's where you have to put the emphasis on working on yourself instead of chasing, rainbows in the sky. So Parashat Hashavua talks about the journey of Am Yisrael in the Midbar, in the desert, as we said, and it really talks about that in the center of the camp was the Mishkan. The Mishkan is called in English the Tabernacle. And the tabernacle was the symbol that represents our spiritual values in which around the whole entire system of life of the individual and the nation was spinning around. That's what it was in the center. When I tell you that you need to define a space in your life that is untouched in the center of your life, and that's going to be the hole in which all the axis of life will allow you to spin, that is your Torah. That's what I'm talking about. You are in a way a nation, and Torah has to be the center focal point of your life. Not your position at work, your degree, or so on, how much money you make, and so on and so forth. And don't fool yourself. Do not fool yourself. Now, the Zohar says to us, and which of course the Zohar explains to us the internal part of the Torah, it says that as much as every shevet, every tribe had its own flag. By the way, somebody told me today that he tried to do a chat GPT of the flags of the tribes of Israel according to the land, the inheritance of the land of Israel, and chat GPT, being an anti-Semite entity, would not allow them to do so because it is discrimination.
That's what it said.
That's what it says, yes. We are not entitled to our own land. I guess there's no such thing as native rights anymore. So just want to tell you that. I'm sick and tired of everything. I'm sick and tired of everybody. And I'm going to tell you something else. I am sick and tired of those Jews, and as I say, those Jews, who abandoned the people for the sake of a party. And they keep on giving support to a party that does not only help the Jews, doesn't help the Jews, but on the contrary, helps its enemies to eliminate the Jews in every effort they can. I don't know if their people are really Jewish in terms of their heart. There probably is some kind of an Arab rub. I'm going to tell you this. There are Christians in this country, and there are Christians in the world, that the faith of the Jewish people is more dear to them than many Jews. And that's sad, and I'm tired of it. I am so tired of it. Now you get your heart in the right place. And as I told you before, when you do the mitzvot, don't look for leniencies. Do every mitzvah, because it's like instead of putting a big Maggid David on your chest, right, or a big Chai on your chest, and so on, which you should, instead of doing that, start doing the mitzvot with enthusiasm. And by the way, don't be intimidated from people who are telling you you can't say this and you can't say that. You can say whatever you want. It's a free country. You can say whatever you want. And if somebody comes and intimidates you and you feel intimidated, I have a solution for you. Go learn some UFC, or go learn some Muay Thai, or go learn Krav Maga, and carry a pepper spray with you, and then go on with your life. Don't be afraid. It's enough already. Now, so every flag really represents the essence of every tribe, and every tribe was placed in a very specific place in the scheme of maneuvering itself in the desert with a very specific purpose. In a specific place and a specific purpose. So for us, the same thing. Each and every one of us has a different target that he needs to fulfill, and very particular things that he's really demanded to achieve. Each one is different. What I need to achieve is different from what Idan needs to achieve, or Ari, or any of you guys here. So, in other words, each and every one of us has its own flag, and from the location of every tribe, and first of all, should I say, in the location of the tabernacle in the center, and then the location of every tribe around it, right? We also have to learn regarding our life and regarding our business. We need to put in the center our core values. We need to put in the center our Torah. That those core values, which is our Torah and the words of Chachamim, we need to determine our goals and objectives. Our goals and objectives needs to be set according to the Torah, not according to the secular world outside. You need to look at the word and to say what is right and what is wrong based according to what the Torah tells you, not some political correct movement and so on and so forth. And if you cannot do that, where are you going, buddy? If you cannot, give me also please a little bit of water. If you cannot do that, you should stop everything that you do and go back to basic, because I'm going to tell you this. You're going to get lost. You're going to get lost in life. So now, and that's the same thing. We need to determine our business goals and objective, right? When something like this, that becomes an anchor to our life. That becomes also a compass to our lives. That's not for nothing. We say HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hatzur Tamim Po. What's a tzur?
Rock.
A rock. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God is the rock in which we hold on to when the waves of life coming crushing upon us. That's something we hold on to, that we won't get drowned by it. So if you're going to go with the waves, when that tsunami of life comes and hits you, you're going to get lost because you are not a wave yourself. But if you hold on to the rock, and now you place God, His Torah, and His values at the center of your life. And you need to understand that. And you need to come to terms with that. And you do not need to be apologetic about this. You do not need to be apologetic for keeping Torah and mitzvot. And by all means, you do not need to be apologetic that you're a Jew. And if somebody doesn't like it, they can go drink cold water and get them whatever out of here. We had enough of this already. Enough is enough. Now, give some to Josh. Josh didn't have any. Give to Josh. So, Sefer Bamidbar and our Parashat that opens up Sefer Bamidbar really teaches us how Am Yisrael used to walk in the desert into the journeys and everything else and all the other miracles that happened to them. The Parashat starts with the counting of Bnei Israel, of the Jewish people who go into the desert, the names, the numbers, and according to the families and what we call Bet Avotam, the lineage of which they went to. Shevet Levi was counted in a totally different count, and it was determined to take control and really to be in charge of everything that had to do with the tabernacle. And the parasha really describes to us how the tribes actually settled down around the Mishkan and how they went according to, including the special work that Bnei Kahat did from the Levim by carrying the clay, the utensil of the Mishkan and so on and so forth. And we did speak about the flags that every one is, and not only that, everybody had its own flag, its own color, and its own precious stone that was in the choshen, in the breastplate that the Kohen wore. Each one has its own unique thing. Now, where was that? On the heart of Aaron HaKohen. And every tribe has its own symbol, unique symbol on the flag as well. For example, Shevet Reuven, right? Dudaim. It was the Dudaim, right? Whatever the Dudaim were, there was some kind of red, and the ruby was the stone of Shevet Reuven, and so on and so forth. Every Shevet, with its own uniqueness, had its own symbol and its own color, and it represents a thing. Now, I don't know if you know. Boy, man, leave some for others. I don't know if you know, but I'm heading towards somewhere with this thing. Hopefully, we'll be able to make it here. We're heading towards somewhere here, and maybe some of you would not like what I have to say, but I don't really care. We're not here to make you like me. We're here to understand what I'm trying to tell you. Now, what we are trying to talk about is that on the tribes of the Shvatim, there were in the four corners of the camp, there were the four letters of the tetragrammaton, the Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. Now, and later on, maybe we'll see other things about the flags if we have the time, but we need to start understanding the message of this parasha is trying to give us. We need to understand the uniqueness of every human in creation and the uniqueness of every Jew, and the men, us especially, need to imitate or emulate God's action. And Chazal says, Havi domeh lo, you should be like him. Ma'u chanun, afatach. He is merciful, you should be merciful. Ma'u, and so on and so forth. Whatever it is, you have to be. You have to adapt those qualities to yourself, and don't come up with some kind of a woke kind of nonsense of what right is and what wrong is. You want to know what's right and what's wrong? See what God is and try to imitate that. Instead of imitating some lunatic in Berkeley, California, over there. Or whatever in the world they are. So, and by the way, where is it? In Masechet?
Shabbat.
Daf?
Kuf Chav Zayin.
Kuf Lamed Gimel. Very good, Idan. So the Mekubalim tells us, as much as HaKadosh Baruch Hu creates the world, so is mankind commanded to create the world. As much as God, reinstitutes the world and recreates the world every single time, so is mankind needs to recreate and to renew his reality every single day. Because every single day would never come back. Would never again and will never be. Every single day you have to stand in as it's your first and last day. So now, there's those creation that we create, the chidushim come from your Torah. You don't learn Torah, you don't have chidushim. I've yet to meet a person that learned and didn't come up with some idea that it was new. Of course, not if you come in every Rosh Chodesh and then never see you again, and you're looking to be entertained. We're talking about people who sit down and actually are Amelim B'Torah. You hear some wonderful things here. Well, I don't know, whatever you volunteer in the Peace Corps over there, I don't know, whatever you're doing over there. So it says, why? Because it says, Be'oraita histakel uvara al ma. HaKadosh Baruch Hu looked in the Torah and He created the world. So are you. When you look in the Torah and you have chidushim, you're creating a new world. And what are you creating? You're creating a better reality. That's why it's very important when you learn Torah, to learn Torah b'ne'emanut, and not to use the Torah for your own purposes. That's why it's important not to take advantage. And it's something that's very annoying to me, or funny. All these people in Israel, they work in the Rabbanut, right? Especially in the Kashrut Rabbanut, right? I'm willing to bet most of them don't eat from their own Kashrut. So why are you there? Why are you there? You have to learn Torah appropriately. You have to allow the Torah to change you. And we saw in the Midrashim, right? And of course, the Torah is something that connects men to God, and that's how it's. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the things that, if you want to know, the things that will actually help you throughout your life, and pay very close attention. I'm going to say maybe some headlines and explain to you what those headlines, but you should be able to hear that and really adapt it to your own self. Now, what you need in your life, now pay attention, all of you. It starts with immaculate order. You need to have immaculate order in your life. Not immaculate conception. Order. And we see that from the flags. We saw in the Midrashim, they tell us, the unbelievable order, the complete arrangement that was what Bnei Israel experienced in the desert. Said the Mekubalim, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world with a specific order. And that order was in everywhere. You see it in nature. There's always order. Things don't just happen. The earth does not start spinning the other way around, and all of a sudden the North Pole goes, the magnetic goes into the south. There's order in the world. Even in the planets, in this cosmic dance of the galaxies, that there are trillions of galaxies out there with endless amount of stars. There's tremendous order, and everything works by order. And you live your life in a chaotic manner. And by the way, this is the effort of many of the people out there, what people call the cabal, is to have lack of order in your life, to have a chaotic life. Because when you have chaos in your life, you can control your life. And when you cannot control your life, somebody else will. You need to be very organized. It starts with your bed in the morning. The first thing you do when you get out of bed, fix your bed. Don't leave your bed unmade. Don't leave socks on the floor. Starts with little things like this in all aspects of your life. You eat something, don't put it in the sink. Wash it, put it away. Take 10 seconds to do that, but it takes an hour to do a whole sink. Organization is essential. Do not be a procrastinator. A procrastinator is a recipe for disaster, is a recipe for what? For failing and lack of emunah at the end. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world with order, and this order is everywhere, in spiritual and in physical worlds. And what Bnei Israel saw at the time of Matan Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu opened up all the gates of all the heavens. And Am Yisrael saw the structure that it is in the heavens up. And the whole issue of the flags really shows us that each one is set in place. Therefore, another thing when we're talking about order is what? Know your place. Know your place. Which most people don't. Everything was arranged. Everything was perfect. As it says, V'diglo alai ahava. It is in where?
Shir Hashirim.
Shir Hashirim. Perek, chapter?
Vav?
2. Bet. מה,
Base.
אתה לא עושה?
I don't know.
Right?
Base.
רפדוני בתפוחים. Right? סמכוני בעשישות. Did you ever make ashishot? I gave you the recipes.
Yeah.
Now, the dgalim, the flags, were the expression or the revelation of the love of HaKadosh Baruch Hu towards us. That's why it was given to Bnei Israel, that secret. And they asked for flags, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu actually gave them. And that in the Bamidbar, through the tremendous order that every Shevet knew. Can you do me a favor? Can you sit over there? Every Shevet knew its own place. Every Shevet knew its own job, and every person knew its own job and place, its uniqueness. In that aspect, Am Yisrael reached the level of a malachim, because a malach knows exactly what he needs to do. A malach doesn't say, excuse me, my name is Malach Gabriel. I would like to be like Sandal Font today. It doesn't work like that. They have a job, you have a job. Stick to your job. Another thing is to recognize, since we're talking about order, is Seder Ba'olam, order in the world. Continue the Kabbalim, Mekubalim, and says that when they received the Torah, Ra'u v'kiblu ma'aseh bereshit, they saw the whole action of creation and they accepted it on themselves as the truth. There's no place for maybe science contradicts that. No, we know that. And they accepted upon themselves the order of the beginning of things. How does everything settle down with creation itself? In a perfect order. After that came the issue of the story of the flags, and the story of the flags, that's Maaseh Merkava. That is the continuation of movement. What does it mean to us? We need to put the spiritual order, which is set, we know exactly what to do, into the physical reality of our lives. It cannot be two different things. It cannot be a German at home at work and a Jew at home. It has to be equal. designated, all the same. And you therefore have to put spirituality in all your actions as well. In all your physical things, you need to make sure that you do anything that is physical. You need to make sure that it aligns itself also with the spiritual world. It is very difficult for people today, psychologists and so on and so forth, when the woke movement sits on their necks like anchors and does not allow them to say what they want to say because they are afraid to lose their job or to get debarred or to do this or the other one. Well, that's a problem. That's called the Golem Kamel Yotzro. Frankenstein has killed his master. That's exactly what happened here. Frankenstein is the woke. He's telling us what to do today. And that's terrible. I'm tired of this. I'm so tired of it. Now, that's why they say, Ki chen chanu lediglehem v'chen nas'u. When they settled down, when they did not, they sat down in the same arrangement, and that arrangement was kept. This order was kept when they were traveling as well. As they saw in the order of creation, and they arranged themselves according to the order of creation, that's why they moved. And so therefore their movement in this world was also according to the movement in which they saw in Olam Haba. And we need to understand that. Listen, there is an order of things in this world. Even if there is separation, even though there is hatred, at the end, everything would need to fit itself back into the order, and it needs to fit into this order, and that is what we are calling, that's why we are yearning for Mashiach to come, for the Messiah to arrive. And yet, guess what? He didn't arrive yet. I mean, so far, every Messiah we had in history ended up to be a false Messiah. We're waiting for that Messiah to come. And how do I know it's a false Messiah? It's very simple. There is more chaos in the world than ever before. When Mashiach will come, we'll go back to the original order of things, and there will be an ideal world, as Am Yisrael had in the desert. And you see, when they were in the desert, the clothes didn't rip. Everything was different. And we see it. We saw it in last week's parasha also. Right? When he said, V'achaltem yashan noshan, and so on and so forth, it means that you're going to eat a little and the food is going to be inside of you. It's going to give you bracha. You're going to be healthy. Today we have a lot of food and no bracha. Everybody's sick because you're eating too much and we're eating too much garbage. You need to understand, there's no bracha in our food. We need to bring it back. So therefore, and this is exactly what we are looking for. And we need to move ourselves and align oneself according to the beat or to this order of this original order. And however, how could this be? There could be only when I'm living in harmony. In other words, what does it mean in harmony? It's not that I'm sitting here holding hands, by the fire, by the bonfire, sitting kumbaya. That's not the order I'm talking about. The order in which I'm talking about is that there's no difference between what I learn in the Torah, what I learn in Shiur, and what I practice in life. That is the harmony. Tocho kevaro. Your inside is like the outside. And the place that we fail is because there's no spiritual order in our life, and therefore we need to implement that in all of our actions, and every step and every action in our lives. Now we're going to talk about the name and your mission. The parasha also gives us a key how to find our place and our job in the great order of life. The parasha starts, Seu et rosh kol adad bnei Yisrael lemishpechotam לבית אבותם במספר שמות כל זכר לגולגולותם. It gives you the whole arrangement how to actually count. What's the problem with counting? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Count like this. No. It has to be that count has to be in a special order. And that call in the names that we have, that's what brings an order to the world. And what does it mean? It means that Bnei Israel came to Mitzrayim, right? What it says? Ve'elu Shemot Bnei Yisrael Abayim Mitzrayim. When Bnei Yisrael came to Mitzrayim, they came with a very specific name. There was this one and this one and this one and this one with a Shemot. And when they came out of Mitzrayim, they also came with this name. Now, why names are important? A name is important in order to remember, right? To remember who he is and what he is and so on. But also a name is important that by the name, by giving a person a name, you are awakening him, or you are assigning the person to his duty, to what he needs to do, and to really awaken that liveliness of the person inside of him by the name. Now, it's very nice. You can call your son Benjamin, but you killed it now. Now he's going to be spiritually dead. Why? Because his really name is Binyamin, not Benjamin. So if a person has, let's say, for example, a name like here, Michael, right? Call him Michael, not Mike, not Mikey, not Michael. Michael, that's his name. Or Jonathan should be Jonathan. Or Josh. Yehoshua, right? So now, says the Noam Elimelech, when a person is asleep, right, you could do a big noise and he's not going to wake up. But if you're going to mention his name, he's going to wake up. You're going to call up his name, he's going to wake up. So, said the Mekubalim, the name awakens the neshama. Now, when you call the neshama of each and every one of us, right, and that's when they counted in the Bamidbar, the reason why they call it the name is that everybody to understand and to recognize the power of their own neshama, and by doing so awaken their own soul. And by awakening their own soul, each and everyone knows exactly what's his job and what's his duty, and only like that he could become free. Now, one of the reasons I believe that we have so many people who are falling off faith, intermarried and so on and so forth, is because we don't give them Hebrew names. We call a woman Anne, or Margaret, or Jennifer, or Jessica, right? I can come up with the names, thank you. Right? And so on and so forth. All the other names, or Svitlana, or Svieta, or Natalie. Ma קרה? כל הטל, I don't know, why Natalie? מה זה? Why, you French? You're a wannabe. It's a Russian name that was taken from French because the Russian want to be French, and therefore you want to be Russian who want to be French. Like, what's wrong with you, man? Find out a Hebrew name. Give a person a Hebrew name. That's what we said when the father gives a name to the child in the breed. Without prior. That's why it's good not to know what you have. Because when you see the child, you know its name. It's like 1/60th of Nevuah when you give him the name. Because you're supposed to give him the name that is going to fit his Shoresh Neshama. When you don't give it to him, he doesn't know what it's going to be. His Neshama is like this, but you can't awaken that Neshama, so it falls apart. Then we're losing people like that. That's the problem. But we want to be cool. We have a problem being Jewish, so we want Goyish names. So when we're gonna do everything that we need to do, right, and we understand that everybody has a job, right? That's the job have done. Why? Because the Shla says, Minyan HaShemot shel Bnei Yisrael, the counting of the name of Am Yisrael, הביא לכך שכל אחד יכיר בחשיבותו כחלק מן הכלל. Each and every one of us will understand his importance as a part of the general and the importance of the other as well. When you don't do that, I don't understand, I don't realize that I'm important, therefore I'm going to do things to make myself important, right? I don't realize that you're important, therefore I'm going to do whatever I can to eliminate you because I don't want you to be important. And then we have a chaos. And the whole thing falls apart. Like a card game. You know, everything falls apart. It falls down. Now, when you don't do what you need to do, you're basically messing up the whole system. The whole system falls apart. And we don't have much time. Another thing to do is what we call bchira chofshit, free choice. You need to learn how to choose. People today are afraid to make decisions. People are afraid to choose. Everybody wants somebody else to choose. You choose for me. You do it. I don't know. Right? That's a problem. We don't teach our children to appropriately make decisions. And we say that the name of the person shows or indicates on his job, but a person also has a choice. Also a choice in that mission that he was assigned to. In other words, having a choice is that in the meaning that we put into the name of the person, and therefore the first name that Adam gave, right, is, for example, it's what are the names that he gave? Cain and Hevel. Cain milshon kaniti ish et Hashem. I acquired, right? And this is a very nice name, Cain, kaniti Hashem, ish min Hashem. But this whole kinyan, this whole acquisition is really when it's to do with Hashem, what Hashem wants to do. But Cain is the root of all destruction in the world. All those mezikim, all those bad doers, damagers that come up to the world, the whole entire flood that had was all because of the children of Cain himself. And because his name has two meanings, right? Sometimes words have two meanings. Where's it from? Anybody knows? There's a lady. Stairway to heaven, you buzzards, you don't know. Sometimes. So Cain could be from the word kinyan, acquisition. I acquired myself to Hashem. Also, milshon kinad de misavota. In other words, a nest of impurity and disgust. So, and through that, all the tumah comes. Well, now it's up to you. What are you going to do? How are you going to live your life? You're going to acquire yourself to Hashem or to filth? You make up your mind, boy. You got to make up your mind, boy. Now, says the Mekubalim, the name Cain was a name of tumah because of the decision that Cain chose himself. Cain met his choice. Why? Because of his action. Yitro, that came from the shorish of Cain, was called what? Ish Kini. Right? And he came to Moshe, to the desert. And on Moshe it says, right? Iten moshavcha v'sim basela kincha. Right? Kincha, which again refers to your kincha, your Cain, wherever it is, right? Sim your ken in the cellar. What does it mean, ken? Your nest. Where? In the rock. What does it mean? Place yourself in the rock of the Torah. Therefore, the meaning of the word Cain goes back to become Kaniti Ish et Hashem. Yitro came, and Yitro repented. He did tshuva. And by him doing tshuva, he was able to mitaken the shorish of Cain. So when you give a name to a person, you have to understand, it has a meaning of, the name is besides just whatever it means, it has a meaning of a job, of a task, of a meaning of life. And that expresses the essence of your neshama, right? And the name is the first underlayer of who the person is. And that is something that we need to discuss now. And I will tell you this. That's what gives mankind the ability to do his job of what we were specifically assigned. Now, therefore, in every name has a choice. You can go this side, or you can go to the other side. And it's your job to decide. How are you going to implement it? Is it going to be a nega, or is it going to be a oneg? It's the same letter. Is it going to be a shefa, abundance, or is it going to be a pesha, a crime? Those two, one against the other, were created. How are they going to go about? You decide. How are they going to go about? All right, to put it on. You decide how they're going to go about. Now, after the free choice, there's also a free renewal. And it's very important to see what it talks about renewal and purpose in life. When we say betfilah and davening, HaBocher b'Torah u'b'Moshe avdo u'v'Yisrael amo. He chooses what? In the Torah, Moshe, and Am Yisrael. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu chose Am Yisrael, right? We said He chose Am Yisrael, Bocher uBeYisrael Amo, right? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu chose us, but we need to understand that a person, our job, HaKadosh Baruch Hu chose us, but our job is to do whatever we can in our power to be chosen by Hashem. It's not an automatic thing. God chose us. Are you worthy enough to be chosen again? And only when you make yourself, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu will choose you. And Am Yisrael was the chosen nation. Of course, they also have Zchut Avot, right, of our forefathers. But that Zchut, that merit, does not go by inheritance. Because inheritance does not come in a place that you need to do the work yourself. You need to work on it and earn it yourself. The fact that your father gave you a big business that had a lot of money does not mean that you're going to be successful. You need to earn it. And if you don't have this attitude of earning again, you're going to lose it all, whatever your father gave you. And then, Chas v'Shalom, we could lose the Zchut Avot. That's why we need to do whatever we can in our power to regain it every single day, all the time. And of course, I don't want to talk about Moshe and Aaron now, and so on and so forth. And there's a lot to talk about. Guys, there's so much to talk about. Let's talk about freedom, about our spiritual work. But I just want to tell you something. The Mekubalim tells us that in our world, it is quite acceptable that freedom is when you have a free nation and everybody does whatever they feel like doing. That's not called freedom. That's not called freedom, and it's not only it's not called freedom, it's also incorrect. Because society dictates to us how to live life. Of course, it doesn't give us an order, but all the habits and all the rituals that our society has dictate to us how to behave, what to say, and to a certain point, even what to think. That's not freedom. That's called brainwashing. Now, by the fact that we have the individual and we have the society, that is something that we need to look into, how we don't lose the individual freedom and the societal freedom. And the main point of freedom is freedom of opinions. When a person cannot express what he feels, when a person cannot express his own opinion, that is the greatest form of gezel, of oppression that is out there. As it says in Ma'amar HaChirut of Baal HaSulam, he calls to this rotzchei nefashot, murderers he calls it. Why? Because lechol nefesh yesh de'ah mishela. Every person has its own opinion. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu created this opinion this way. And no person is like the other. Each one of us is different. Each one of us has a special message to hear. Not only for himself, but also for everybody else. And this is the contribution that he has. That's why we need to hear, especially when it comes to Torah. I'm not going to hear just what the big rabbi say. I want to hear what the guy who doesn't know how to learn, what he has to say as well. And we have to allow this freedom, and we have to respect one another. And we have to truthfully respect and understand the mission of everybody else and the importance of everybody else. And I do believe that the main reason for that is because we don't know that we have a job. We're not willing to look what the job is. We're not willing to commit for it. And because we ourselves are lost. And guys, you need to know how to navigate yourself out of the desert. Because if you don't, you're not going to make it. So if you're going to make it out of the desert, you want to make it to the promised land. Try to think about what we just talked about this shiur right now. And Be'ezrat Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will help all of us to reach our goal, to reach our destination, to fill our life with meaning, to bring peace to the world, to bring peace to Am Yisrael. And Be'ezrat Hashem, Am Yisrael is going to be able to be free in its land, with Jerusalem its capital, to worship Hashem. למען ידעו כל עמי הארץ כי אתה הוא השם האלוקים בשמיים לעל הארץ להתאחד אין עוד. And we should also be זוכת ובביאת משיח צדקנו ובבניין בית הבית במהרה בימינו. אמן.